get that running in just a moment.
Adrian, since we have 3 minutes, I will turn out the time to you as our Toastmasters of the evening and let you pick out and see anything else, any other roles that needs to be fixed. Just to let you know, in the chat box, we've got the speaker order and the evaluator order already in the chat box, so that hopefully you can see it there. Adrian, all yours.
Perfect. Welcome everybody to Toastmasters. We're so happy that you took time out of your schedule to join us today. Our meeting has 3 parts to it. Our first part of the meeting will be our awesome speakers. They have prepared themselves to entertain you and educate you tonight on their topic. Our second part of our meeting is table topics. Table topics is random impromptu speaking. Our third section of the meeting is to evaluate our speakers and give them positive feedback on how they can improve their speeches. At this time, we will start announcing the supporting roles of the meeting today. At this time, if you could come out and explain what the ah counter does, Mr. Ryan Demchuk.
I'm going to hold on just one sec, a little timeout real quick. First of all, Adrian, do you know if you have all of your roles covered already?
I believe so.
Okay, great. You got all your roles covered. David, would you please go ahead and start our recording and our introduction slides first?
Sure. We always want to give people a heads up. I think most of you know that our meetings are recorded. We'll send out an email with a link to the video recording after the meeting. We do use this as part of our public relations and social media outreach, but if you ever want me to destroy the evidence, just let me know. Welcome to Online Presenters Toastmasters. We are focused here on learning skills for better webinars and online events. We do want to thank RingCentral for allowing us to use the RingCentral meetings platform for our meetings. And they've got a little bit of boasting to do. We encourage you to use a headset or earbuds, some way of controlling the sound when you are speaking, and mute your mic when it's not your turn to speak. You can toggle your video on and off, but in general, we want to see you unless you're blowing your nose or something. Want to go away and hide. You should know that you can toggle between the gallery view that shows everybody and the active speaker view. Everybody controls their own view of what's going on here. But make sure that if you're speaking that you keep an eye on the timer. I will be the timer today, actually, and that green will be showing up behind me. Green, yellow, and red. So we'll try and use an audible cue as well. Unless, I think, Carol, you usually request no audible cue. You can message me if that's any different. Otherwise, I'll assume that's your plan for tonight. If you are visiting and want to become a member, there is a link on our website that says join. And there you will find the application and a button to pay online. This is an advanced club. So if you don't have prior Toastmasters experience, we ask you to give a short speech about why you want to join and what you can contribute to the club. And the board can vote to make an exception to its usual minimal speech requirement. With that, it is showtime, and we'll pass it back to our Toastmaster of the day, Adrian, who's going to take us through a great meeting.
Thank you so much. At this time, our theme tonight is going to be overcoming obstacles. Ryan, could you please explain to us your role as ah counter?
Thank you, Mrs. Toastmaster. My role tonight is going to be counting all the crutch words and filler words that are unnecessary and reporting them back. I will not report on anything that, if everybody's got a perfect record, I'm just not going to say anything. I'm just going to report on the people that have made some infractions, if you want to call it that, and I'll try to keep it short.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. And our grammarian tonight, Mr. John Quick. And could you also give us the word of the day?
Don't say John.
Okay, I'll take over John's role if he's not here. Is anybody? And our watcher, Kirshen.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. So my role as watcher is to look at our visual presentation, namely our body language, how we are using slides, if we have them, and other visuals we are putting into practice. Look at that, at all of those items, and provide a feedback at the end of the session for your benefit. Over to you.
Thank you so much. And our timer, Mr. David Carr.
Yes, I'll be showing the timing lights on the screen behind me. And you should see green. Oh, it's not working. Well, assuming it works a little bit later. Ah, there we go. Green, yellow, red. There we go. So watch for those timings, and we'll see what we can do from there. Woohoo! Back to you, Ms. Toastmaster.
Awesome. And our dual role for vote counter and chat monitor, Mr. Roger Fung.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I will be having two roles today. As a chat monitor, I'll be watching what's going on in the chat. Just make sure that we stay on the conversation, whatever that is happening. Number two, as the vote counter, I will not vote, but I will be collecting votes from all of you in terms of our best speaker, our best evaluator, and also our best table topic speakers. In the case of a tie, then I will cast the tie-breaking vote. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And the word of today is going to be stumble. Stumble is a verb. It means to trip or momentarily lose one's balance, to almost fall. Please try to incorporate the word of today in your speeches today as we get started. Our first speaker will be Sunny tonight, Sunny Fridge. Her speech is going to come from the Advanced Communication Manual, Public Relations Project 2, which is the radio talk show. The time is 3 to 5 minutes, plus 2 to 3 minutes of question and answer. The goal is to prepare a public relations talk designed to build goodwill towards an organization by presenting factual information on a radio talk show. At this time, Graham will now serve as the radio host and introduce her to our audience. Mr. Graham, it is up to you.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I'm just waiting for Sunny to start her video, which I believe she is about to do. But I'm not quite sure where it's gone. So we'll only be a second. Try under recent, Sunny. That might be helpful. It will almost certainly appear under the recent on your left.
I can't find it at this exact moment. I'm sorry.
Do we want to move on to
Yes.
the second speaker, and then we'll come back to yours?
Well, under File
Okay.
is where that recent should show up.
Yep. And it should be under recent, I would think.
Oh, there we go.
The one? Yep.
There it is.
All right. And different start. All right. So let me start. Our speaker is Sunny Fridge. Her speech is from the Advanced Communications Manual, as you've heard, and I will now serve as the radio show host. Welcome to Online Presenters Podcast. I'm your host, Graham Cairns. Our guest today is a lady of many hats. Dr. Sunny Fridge wears the hat of an adjunct professor at Belhaven University and oral communications instructor at Antonelli College. She wears the hat of an entrepreneur as a realtor and communications consultant. Her passion of helping others unleash their untapped potential through workshops and seminars as a certified coach, teacher, and speaker with the John Maxwell team. She wears the hat of a mentor, having empowered hundreds of students and clients to become successful communicators. She also wears the hat of an award-winning Toastmaster and is a member of 2 Toastmasters clubs and the Vice President of Education. She says it's an organization that can make fear disappear. Welcome, Sunny, to Online Presenters Podcast. First of all, can I ask, how long have you been a Toastmaster?
It's a pleasure to be here, Graham. And I have been a Toastmaster for 3 years. Come October. So I'm happy to be able to speak and know that Toastmasters is where leaders are made.
You've described this as being magic. Can you share with us the magic of Toastmasters?
What I've seen is that so many people come into Toastmasters because they want to either improve their speech or they want to become better speakers, get job promotions, and they come in with fear. And after they join Toastmasters, not all of it, but a lot of it disappears. So I like to say that's the magic of Toastmasters. Now, Mark Twain said there are two types of speakers, nervous and liars. And in case your listeners didn't know, public speaking is the number one fear. People fear public speaking more than the dark, more than heights, snakes, even death. And as comedian Jerry Seinfeld likes to say, if death is number two, that means at a funeral, people would rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy. And listeners, if you are afraid of speaking in public, you're not alone. 85% of people suffer from speech anxiety. It's also known as glossophobia. The good news is you can get help by finding a local Toastmasters club. Toastmasters International is a nonprofit educational organization. It was founded in 1924. The headquarters is in Colorado. There are over 350,000 members and 16,000 clubs in 143 countries that make up our global network of meeting locations. And the mission is simple. Toastmasters empowers individuals to become more effective communicators and leaders. And on the district level, we build clubs, new clubs, and support all clubs in achieving excellence. I'm happy to be able to help with chartering a club in the next few months in the Mississippi area. And at the club level, that's really where the magic happens. And Toastmaster provides a supportive and positive learning experience to empower members to develop communication and leadership skills, which result in self-confidence and personal growth. They also receive listening and interpersonal skills. And we have a new program, a new educational program, Graham. It has paths and a series of projects that can be completed at our own pace. And I'd like to share the testimonies from two members.
I was having a little bit of a problem in meetings because I got nervous and I wanted something that would help me run meetings with more confidence.
I started to work with the new team leader, and he did not respect fixed deadlines. This caused so much frustration.
Luckily, I'm a member of Toastmasters.
And it just so happens that I was working in the New Pathways program. I was learning about social awareness, relationship building.
I learned about the leadership styles that came naturally to me, and I also learned about the ones that I really needed to work on.
I decided to extend an offer for coffee. And in turn, we got to know a little bit about each other. And when I did that, he was receptive. And we actually worked on a communication plan.
And my clients have had more confidence in me. Because of this, I've been able to work on bigger and better projects.
It was great. Not only did it help me, but it helped the team. And this is all because of what I learned in Pathways.
And if you are at your phone or your web, please go online and to toastmasters.org and find a Toastmasters near you.
That's excellent, Sunny. Thank you very much for that. But I gather we've got a caller on the line who has a question for you. Are you up to taking that?
Absolutely, Graham. Thanks.
All right. Caller Carol, you had a question for our guest today.
Yes. Hi, Sunny. It's a pleasure to hear you. My question is related to the opportunity to network with other Toastmasters. I heard that there are some really good conferences and conventions. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Thank you for the question, Carol. And yes, there are so many ways to network as a Toastmasters. There are local events that they have district area contests, and they have seminars. And I just returned from an awesome convention that was held in Chicago, where over 2,000 Toastmasters got together to learn more about what it takes to be a better communicator and better leader. I've watched over 100 Toastmasters go to become the international world speaking champs. And I met so many great people who have the same mission of becoming better versions of themselves. Toastmasters begins with a single speech, but it's a great journey. And if you'd like, you could become a distinguished Toastmaster. Otherwise, it could be just for personal gain. Everyone needs to be a better person. And when you gain leadership skills, you become a better parent, a better worker, a better leader. And if we do that, the world becomes a better place. Thank you for the question, Carol.
Sonny, a question from me. You've spoken about leadership and you've spoken about communication. Do most people join Toastmasters because they want to learn how to speak, or do they join because they want to be leaders? Is there a balance between those two?
There is a way that it can be a balance. It's individual. People can decide why they want to join Toastmasters, whether it's to become a better speaker, but in the process, you can become a better leader, because Toastmasters is divided into 3 parts, and you have prepared speeches. The more you practice, you gain self-confidence, and confidence breeds competence. And then you can become a better leader because you can take roles during the meeting, and it helps you to develop your skills, your interpersonal skills, your listening skills. And if you become a better listener, you become an overall better person. So there's room for as much as you'd like at the pace that you would like.
Excellent. Here's a question from my producer. Thank you, David. He asked, you mentioned a distinguished Toastmaster. Now, that sounds like, you know, somebody who's puffed up, but I gather that a distinguished Toastmaster is a specific set of skills.
Absolutely right. Toastmasters allows you, if you would like, to end with the highest distinction, the distinguished Toastmaster, which means you've gone through a certain amount of speeches, probably over 40 speeches. I think it's about 43 speeches. And also you've been a leader, and you've taken on leadership roles, and you've taken on projects, and you're a standout in the crowd. And so distinguished Toastmaster is something you can do once, twice. I've even met a couple of people who have been distinguished Toastmasters several times. It's a wonderful opportunity. And if anyone would like more information, they can go to toastmasters.org.
That's terrific. Thanks very much for that. That's all the time that we've got on this edition of Online Presenters Podcast. I'm your host, Graham Cairns. Thank you, Sonny Fridge, for being our guest. And thanks for listening, everyone.
Well,
thank you so much.
Well done. Thank you.
Awesome.
That was a lot of fun, I have to say. I do this for a living, but that was really enjoyable. Thank you very much for that, Sonny. And I now hand control back to our Toastmaster.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for that. Our second speaker tonight is Carol Krahinsky. She is known as the multiple winner of our video contest online. And of course, she just told you she just is our newest international director. At this time, she will be talking about communicating on video. That is the manual, and it will be the training on video. The timing for this is 5 to 7 minutes, plus she will have an additional 5 minutes for video replay. The title of the speech is Creating a Spend Analysis. Do you wonder how to improve your savings? Where has all your money gone? Today's speaker will guide us through how to create a personal spend analysis and why you want to do it. Put yourself in the driver's seat of your economic future. Join me in welcoming charter member Carol Krahinsky for her speech titled, Creating a Spend Analysis. At this time, Ms. Carol Krahinsky.
Thank you, Adrienne. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. We are speaking tonight on just one segment of what's called a purchasing strategy, and that's why I have my title as I do, because there's a lot more to a purchasing strategy, but I want to do a deep dive tonight as it relates to purchasing. How do we spend money, and how can I improve my savings? So have you ever wondered where your money goes? It just goes poof, right? Gone, right? You just had a paycheck and off it went. So when we're looking at our expenses, have you ever decided, I'm going to analyze it? I'm going to collect this information, put it together in some form, and analyze it. So what we want to do tonight is talk about A, collecting the data, B, analyzing it, and then C, developing a strategy as it relates to our spend so that we can improve our performance and have more money. And then last, that's where we're looking at the opportunities for improvement. So this is the pile of receipts. Yeah, this is just my husband and I, but I do recommend doing it for your entire family unit. Pull every receipt together, every expense, cash expenses, credit cards, everything. Pull it all together and then analyze that. Take a look at every company that you're spending money with. You see here Home Depot, you see here Meijer, grocery store, Speedway, gasoline, and a couple other miscellaneous. Add them up. How much money are you spending on groceries? How much money are you spending at the hardware store? How much money are you spending on those big purchases that happen every now and then to help take care of that home? Pull that information together and then create a diagram, some form of expenditure analysis. And you see here June of about a decade ago, but we have data from June of 2008. And I'm sharing with you what I personally spent on my house in that month. I collected all the receipts, and you see my heavy hitter over here on the left side is a mortgage. Yipe. Then we have clear a fence. I bought a new fence for the house. Then I've got hardware stores. Now the numbers after the hardware stores represent that I shopped at the hardware stores 5 times in that 1 month. I went to 3 different hardware stores. Groceries, 5 times shopping for groceries, 2 different grocery stores. And then so forth, on down the list. Now, when we're looking at the opportunities, do you see any opportunities here? You might say, well, did she really need the fence? She thought so. That's why she spent some money on it. What about those hardware stores and the grocery stores? Those are pretty big expenses. Can we do anything to improve that? Wait a minute. What's this category called? Cash. If you can, try to eliminate that cash and figure out exactly what you spent that cash on. All right. And entertainment. Yeah, we can cut that out. Oh, but then life is no fun. Yeah, no, Jim is like, no, we can't cut that out at all. We must hold on to some entertainment. And don't cut out the fun. You need to have fun in your life. It needs to be balanced, though. If you're spending too much on entertainment, you need to pull back. All right, so let's take a look at what's the next step. The next step is to examine each of these expenses and ask yourself, what would happen, for example, in the hardware, if I developed a relationship with one hardware company? Could I get quantity discounts? Would I have the opportunity to reduce my expenditures by getting volume? What about at the grocery store? You know, they have these loyalty cards now. Would that give me an opportunity to improve my performance on my expenditures? Is there a way to reduce my mortgage? And the entertainment that I've purchased, is there a way that I could find different entertainment that would reduce my expenses? Look at my expenses in Toastmasters. Oh, this was before I joined 4 clubs. Yeah. Anyway, you get my point here, is that there are opportunities that we have, and we have to look at the balance of these expenses to determine where we want to spend our time. So ideally, you're going to create something like an 80-20 rule, the Pareto analysis, and you're going to examine, where are my heavy hitters? That's the A category. 20% of your suppliers represent about 80% of your spend. 30% of your suppliers, between the 20% and the 50%, represent about 15% of your spend, meaning how much money you're spending. And for the C items, 50% of your items represent about 5% of your spend. when we're looking to reduce, I highly recommend that you focus over on the A category. That's where you need to spend your time. The B and the C category doesn't add as much value. You're going to ignore that phone call. Yes. Even if it is my husband. Oops. Anyway, so we have an opportunity here to improve by examining the A items. With that, I thank you for your contributions today. I look forward to seeing your chat messages, and I am thrilled to give you the opportunity to improve your spend and improve your savings for the future. Have a great night.
Is there a video segment to this, Carol?
No, I don't believe that. Well, it's up to Carol, but I wouldn't have thought so. I thought that because this was presented as a video, that was what we're looking at.
Yeah, this is a very old manual, Adrienne, and back in the day, they recommended it be done this way and then showed the video again, but you guys just watched the video. So
Okay.
Graham, I think, has enough information to be able to make a good decision because we're all in the video format right now.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. At this time, we'll have our third speaker, Mr. Ryan Demchuk. He will be speaking from one of the other manuals or a non-manual speech. It's a custom speech, and he'll have 5 to 7 minutes to do this speech. His title is No Bad Audiences. His introduction, he's a new Toastmasters with our club, and he's working on clear transitions. Please help me at this time welcome one of our fellow Toastmasters, Mr. Ryan Demchuk.
There are no bad audiences, only bad speakers. There are no bad audiences, only bad speakers. Boy, did that stump me when I first heard it. So while you guys are pondering that a little bit, whether you agree or disagree, I have a bit of a story for you. So while I was in Korea, I joined a speech contest. And during this time, during my preparation, I had written multiple speeches, and I just couldn't figure out exactly how it was I was going to connect with the Korean audience. So the day before the contest, I finally had the idea. I'm like, well, maybe I'll just ask them. So I sent out my speech script to a few of the Toastmasters that were in the competition. And let's just say the feedback that I got back wasn't exactly what I was hoping to hear. Everybody basically came back and said, my speech sounds like a lecture. In case you're wondering, that wasn't a compliment. Said it needed more emotion, a little bit more humor, but mainly it needed some emotion. So armed with that new information, I couldn't really do much, but I walked into that speech contest. I said, well, I'm going to deliver the speech that I prepared and see how this goes. But I had a quick conversation with a lady that walked in, and she said she just got back from a speech contest and it went amazingly well, but the winner had delivered this really emotional speech. So right before I decided to go up, I scrapped my old speech and I did an impromptu speech on my father's passing with cancer, because I knew that this was going to be an emotional speech for me, hoping I wasn't going to tear up while this happened. But I delivered that speech, and you wouldn't guess what happened. I got first place in that speech. With an impromptu speech, after I've been preparing for weeks, I somehow nailed down a first place. So back to reality here. So I did what a lot of Toastmasters do. I reevaluated my speech and I watched the video footage, as scary as that is all the time. And I decided, well, the message wasn't quite what I wanted to deliver. Like, I gave them what they wanted, but I thought maybe I could add a little bit more of an impactful message into this. So I restructured the speech, and I obviously went on to round 2 and delivered my my next speech with a little bit of a revision, a little bit of something that I wanted in there. And you kind of guess what might have happened in that one. I got second place in that speech contest. So I was pretty happy about this one because I was still in the ranks. I got to advance to the next level. So at this point, I was feeling pretty good about myself because I didn't even think I was going to place at all, especially for an impromptu speech. So this time I decided to get a little bit deeper into it, and I looked up the criteria that the judges were using to evaluate my speech, because I said, well, if I got this far, I'm going to win. And feeling very confident about myself, I decided to throw out that whole speech and write the perfect speech. A speech that was going to meet the body language, that was going to meet the vocal variety, that was going to meet everything that those judges were looking for. And I wrote that perfect speech, practiced it, and I had it down. So I walk into the next level of that speech contest. I walk in and I deliver my speech, and it was amazing. It was like this big, epic Braveheart speech. It was just, it had everything. I didn't miss a single line. It was just amazing. I never delivered a speech so good. And I was the first speaker, so I also got to sit down and listen to the rest of the speakers. And I still felt confident after this because the rest of the speakers didn't deliver on all the criteria like I did. So I was feeling very confident. So in typical Toastmasters fashion, they start to announce the winners. They announced the third place winner. A little bit of rumbling on the table. I'm not sure if you guys can hear this, but third place goes to not me. This is awesome, because if I didn't get third, I at least got second or first. I'm advancing. Same thing. Second place goes to not me. Another one. Totally excited at this point. I'm like, yes, I wrote the perfect speech, delivered it. I'm on to the next round. And of course, first place comes along, and first place goes to not me. I'll show you what I got. I got the certificate of participation. Yeah. That felt good. So after getting a certificate of participation, I started to think to myself, what do these guys know? Even had a girl that come up, she was in the first speech and told me, you lost your heart. I came here to see the first speech you delivered, that emotional one. I don't know what that was that you delivered. Figured to myself, what do you know? Started to hit the books, started to research a little bit, decide like, okay, where did I go wrong? What happened there? Then I came across this quote. There are no bad audiences, only bad speakers. So I thought to myself, still didn't quite agree with that statement. I'm like, maybe these guys are just messed up. I delivered everything that I was supposed to. But once I analyzed and I looked back at my speeches, or how that progression happened, in the first speech, I asked what they wanted and I gave them 100% of what they wanted. And I got first place. In the second speech I presented, I gave them about 70% of what they wanted. And I got second place. But in the third speech, I gave them nothing of what they wanted. Nothing at all. And I got the certificate of participation. So what was my takeaway? I think I lost sight of who I was speaking for. I should have been speaking for the audience, not to place, not to do any of that. When I gave them what they wanted, I got first place. So when I reevaluate and I think about that statement, there are no bad audiences, only bad speakers. I say I agree with that. Not sure what you guys feel about that, but I'll say it again because I believe it. There are no bad audiences, only bad speakers.
Awesome. We enjoyed our three speakers. Thank you so much for taking the time to prepare for those. At this time, it's our favorite time of the meeting, our table topics. That is a time that allows us to speak off the cuff. At this time, our table topics master will take over the meeting, Mr. Norman Dow.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. First, do we have any 2-minute speeches for prospective members? Okay, I'll take that as a no. Okay, well, let's start with our first question. Chris Gould, tomorrow is the 70th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. What do you most remember about that day?
Mr. Topic Master, wow. We had what I think is a fairly unique experience on September 11th, 2001. We were on vacation in France, and we were on a boat that Jim was driving on the canals in the back country of France. So we learned about the attack by watching a television in a restaurant that was totally in French. We had no idea what was going on, and it was surreal. It was complete. I'm sure it was surreal for everybody, but we had that surrealness without any English. And we later were invited into somebody's home where they had CNN International on the TV, and that was late in the evening, was the first time we got to hear what was really going on. Surreal is all I can say. In retrospect, I think I'm very glad that I was not in the country, because what I understand, people who were here were bombarded with the catastrophe, the horrible feeling of what happened on that day, every minute of every day on TV. We were spared that because we were on a boat in the countryside. And the thing that I remember is the wonderful camaraderie that we felt from the French people, which made me so upset when we did come back home and had people here chastising the French. Don't know exactly where I'm going with that, but when we came off our trip, I have a photograph of this little shrine that the French people set up that said, "For the victims and for our freedom. We are all in this together." Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Chris. Angela, if you had to run for political office, what office would you run for and why?
If I had to run for political office, I would run for U.S. Senator, because they get a 6-year term. They don't have to do it every 2 years. And I think of those as being really terrible jobs where people call you in the middle of the night. But, I'd make that sacrifice for my mission. But definitely, the longest possible term I could get so that I wouldn't have to do it again anytime soon.
Thank you very much. Jim Gold, what was your most embarrassing Toastmasters experience? Your most embarrassing Toastmasters experience?
Mr. Table Topics Master, that's a good question. I don't believe I've ever really had an embarrassing moment at Toastmasters. One thing I do remember, though, it was before Toastmasters, and it was when I was in speech class in high school. And this is a wonderful experience for Toastmasters, and my task was to give an introduction to a speaker. So I got up there and I went through the whole thing, and I made this beautiful introduction. I thought I was really, really doing well until I got to the very last part, which was the person's name. And for some reason, that name just escaped me. His name was John Newman. I will never forget the man's name now. However, at that moment, I forgot his name. So Toastmasters, write it down. I thought I had everything together. And I did, except the name. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Okay. Thank you, Jen. And back now to Madam Toastmaster.
At this time, if you have not already sent your vote to Roger, please do so for the best speaker and also for the best table topics. Again, our table topics were done by Chris, Angela, and Jim. I'll give you a few moments.
See, Angela
was not qualified.
Yeah, so the other two would be fine.
You will be voting for Chris and Jim, please. Thank you so much, David.
So,
you know, if you vote for one of us, you're voting for both, so it doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
So, Angela, you're supposed to speak for at least 1 minute, just for future reference.
Perfect. And while you're tallying up your votes, we're going to keep the meeting moving. At this time, we will move into our evaluation section of the meeting. Our first evaluator will be Graham Carnes. He will be evaluating our first speaker, Sonny Fridge. At this time, take it away, Graham.
I actually believe that I'll be evaluating Carol and Jim Barber.
I'm sorry, Jim Barber. You're right. I'm sorry about that. Jim Barber is evaluating Study. Jim, are you ready?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I was having trouble with my timer. Madam Toastmaster.
No problem. And I have it. Thank you.
Madam Toastmaster, my fellow Toastmasters, our most welcome guest this evening, and especially, of course, Toastmaster Sonny Fridge. Sonny, I've got to admit, I approached doing this evaluation when I read about it with a bit of trepidation because you have got such a great video presence. You are such a joy to watch that I wasn't at all sure how this would work on radio without having that, just to listen to you. It worked. Your charm came through, your smile came through. On audio, it was a great radio presentation. Congratulations. Specifically, you've got a wonderful radio voice. It's the sort of voice that you can just listen to for the longest time. It was wonderful. I assume that you were using a script. It would be depressing to think that you were that smooth if you were just doing it spontaneously. So I assume you were using a script, but I don't know because you sounded conversational. It sounded spontaneous. It was very, very good. I like the way that you closed. I was getting a little concerned because you had only mentioned once Toastmasters.org, and I was thinking, but everybody's going to think .com, but you closed with Toastmasters.org and made it very clear that that was the correct URL to go to. Congratulations, very well done. I have a couple of suggestions for you, and they're small. The Toastmasters video that you used in the middle of your presentation, to me, didn't work all that well in audio. As a video, it worked well, but when I closed my eyes to it and just listened to it, I only heard two people talking and I had no emotional connection to those people. It just didn't work for me. I loved the interaction that you had with Graham, and I would just like to have heard more of that rather than the Toastmasters video. The other thing is, I agree with something that Roger said in the chat. You told people to go to Toastmasters.org to learn more about Toastmasters, to find a Toastmasters club near them. But these are all things that people are going to put off until another time when they're less busy or something like that. I would like it if you gave people a suggestion of go to this particular URL and spell it out, and I will give you my 3 tips or the best clubs to join or how to do this, how to do that, something that people will want to do right now, and then later you can convert them to going to Toastmasters. But as I stumbled to my close, this was an innovative presentation, masterfully presented. It was a lot of fun. Thank you very much. Great presentation. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'm doing dual roles. And of course, this is what happens when you try to do things by memory. So our next evaluator will be Mr. Graham Carnes. He will be evaluating Carol Krahinsky.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Ladies and gentlemen, I will try not to stumble. See, I got the word of the day in. I knew I would. Congratulations, by the way, to Carol on a really interesting presentation. And if you want an indication of whether it succeeded or not, I did notice that somebody in the chat said, well, hey, look, I'm just going off to start my budgeting right now. And I'm thinking about how I can use some of these techniques as well. So well done. Carol told us what she was going to tell us. She told us, but I would say she didn't then tell us one last time what she had told us, which is how that triptych works. You tell us what you're going to say, you tell us, and then you remind us of what was in the information. But she did at least we knew up front what we were going to be learning today. Nice use of a data dump, by the way, explaining what you can do to break out those individual categories was something quite useful. Although there is a suggestion here that I will make for Carol, if I may. It got a little confusing there when we were talking about A items and B items and C items and the Pareto analysis. Now, I know what a Pareto analysis is, but there is no guarantee that everybody in this room does, let alone in a larger group. So just be aware of terminology like that. And something that's probably going to get me disagreeing with Roger here, I actually would like to have seen you going in and out of those slides, rather than just using slides all the way through and your thumbnail image off to the side. I would like you to have left your PowerPoint presentation and brought yourself front to create greater engagement with the audience, and then go back to the slides. I know that in this format it is sometimes clumsy, but if you were doing this presentation on television, which was what it was originally designed to do, you would be cutting from your slides to yourself, to your slides, to yourself. And that's one of the things that we were asked to look for in this presentation. But some humor was the highlight for me. The interesting use of personal anecdotes and personal receipts I thought was fascinating. I'm sort of sitting there looking, oh, I wonder what that is. Oh, hang on, that's Speedway fuel, but whatever. I thought that really worked well. So you told us what to expect, so we were primed for what we were going to hear. You had a good use of data and a good use of personal examples. I'd like to see you bring yourself forward so that you create a greater connection with your audience, and some terms could use explanation, but overall a really good introduction, a really good précis of the, if you like, 101 of this subject, very personable, didn't use the medium to its full extent, but certainly we all took away something that we will learn today, and if nothing else, that's what a good speech like this should do. Congratulations, Carol. I yield control to you, Madam Vice President Education. And, no, sorry, yeah, Madam Toastmaster, that's what you are. Yeah, there's
No
that
problem,
stumble I
thank
promised
you.
not to do.
We have definitely all made a stumble today, here and there. But that's the purpose of Toastmasters, to practice, is to be able to adapt to the unexpected. That's how you become a professional. You just change it and go with it. Our last evaluator, but certainly not the least, will be Chris Gold. She will be evaluating Ryan Demchuk. Chris?
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and especially Ryan, I really enjoyed your speech. We are all here to learn how to deliver better speeches, and you reminded us of a key ingredient. That is emotion, that people react, they are interested in getting emotionally involved, and we forget that. We try to be just so perfect about everything that we're supposed to do that we forget about that emotion, and you brought that point so clearly. I was very engaged in your whole speech, and you took us through your first speech where they said you sounded like a lecture, and then you said, okay, I'll just throw that. You want emotion? I'll give you emotion. I'll talk about my father. And you won first place. And then you went back and you started delivering on your points again, and you thought that you nailed it and you just got a certificate of participation because you didn't get that emotion. It was so heartfelt. You got a message across in this speech, and I really appreciated it. The only suggestions for improvement I have in the video format here, your sound was excellent. I really heard you very well. And your video is fine. Just one little tip for improvement is if you could move your computer up a little higher, move the camera up a little higher so that you're not looking down. It's really good if you can be looking straight at the camera. Another thing, this is something that we learn in Toastmasters, and I do think it's important, is the protocol at the beginning. The Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests. I didn't hear that. If you said it, I'm sorry. But it does help get the speech started off on the right foot. So you were engaging, you were relatable, we all really could learn from you. You were great at switching between the camera and your screen share. You did that 3 times to show us the awards you got each time. Very, very good job at that. And then your ending, you did not say thank you, which is very good Toastmasters, but you didn't kind of hit that ending. I think everybody was kind of, wait, was that the end or was it the end? So just a little bit stronger in your ending. We learned a lot. Thank you for that speech, Ryan. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much for that. At this time, I would like to turn the meeting over to our general evaluator for tonight, Mr. Ben Ratji. And please don't forget to send your votes for the best evaluator to the vote counter.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Thank you. How is everybody today? Did you have fun today? Quick show of hands one time. Yeah, happy to see. So general evaluation, I think overall we did really, really great today. We all did a fantastic job. Starting off with our Toastmaster, Adrienne. Right? What I love about her, she gets straight into the meeting. She gets us moving forward fast, keeps everybody on time. She picked a very nice theme, and she even reminded people in the chat box to mute their mics, right? So I really loved it. One thing that Adrienne could maybe improve is she could maybe have an explanation or a story, her personal story for the theme, you know, at the beginning. So I would take a little bit more time there besides that terrific job. Our counter Ryan, yeah, very smooth explanation at the beginning. I love that he took a double role today. Very tough doing both. Our timer David, fantastic job, I gotta say. First of all, smooth explanation at the start, right? And what I love with David, if something's wrong with the time, he just jumps in. He unmutes himself, right? He speaks over the Toastmaster and he lets know, hey, 1 second, right? One of the speakers was not qualified, right? So great job there, fantastic. Our vote counter, Roger, energetic as always, I loved it. Our watcher, Christian, really great introduction. Yeah, I liked it. Our topics master, Norman. One thing I love about Norman loves to go deep, right? So he chose topics that basically went deep. And I don't know about you, but they were really, really challenging today, right? He chose it from 9/11, where were you at that time, to what office would you pick, right? What was the most embarrassing moment for you? So really, really great, Norman. Loved it. Our evaluators, right? I think Jim, Graham, and Chris all had an overall very, very nice balance. And Graham especially, I think he gave a wonderful tip for all of us. He said that as a speaker, you can actually jump back and forth, right? You can show your slides, but then sometimes you should zoom out and have you front and center as the main speaker, and then you can always come back to the slides. Like he said, it looks a little bit messy, but I think that was a great tip. One small improvement I would suggest for Graham, when he gave feedback to Carol, he said at the beginning about the common structure, right? Tell us what you're gonna tell us, then you tell us, and then you told us, right? I found that was a very good tip. I just wouldn't share it at the beginning when you talk about what she did really well. I would save it for a little bit later, right? So you have a little bit of that division, great things first and then things to improve. But besides that, Graham's always fun to watch, as always. And one final tip I would like all of us to work on is the agenda order. As a general evaluator, it was maybe just for the general evaluator, but I followed the email agenda. But during the meeting, the order of all the speakers basically changed a little bit. So if we can have that in unison for future meetings, that would be great. Yeah, thank you, and back to our Toastmaster, Adrian.
Okay, perfect. One of the things that we can do for that is if you just log in, and I did log in and change those names as they made the changes. So if you were to pull up the agenda now, it's corrected. And that's one thing you can all do, log in and update your roles when you switch around. That really helps us start the meeting. At this time, I'd like to call our roles. The all counter, please. If we could have your report, Ryan.
Sure. May I ask how long do I have for an all counter report?
30 seconds.
30? All right.
No more 30 seconds to a minute.
Talk fast.
Yeah. Carol had 2 filler words, focused more on right and all right. And Graham had 8, but I did notice he had no filler words during the evaluation, which is interesting. Chris only had 2 filler words. I have to give props to Adrienne because you did a lot of talking tonight and you didn't have a single filler word. Norman had 3. Sunny had a few ands when she was trying to speed up a bit of her text, just like rolling through and. So maybe suggesting a pause in there would be nice to process the different statements. Ben had 4, and he had a couple of the you knows and rights. I've heard that a lot in Korea. They like to say you know after they say everything. And Angeline, there was one of my uhs, and Angela had 2 ums and 3 you knows. And that's my report.
Thank you so much. And right on to our watcher, Kirshen, please.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I'm going to take a page out of Carol's speech. I'm going to share with you some statistics. Now, 74% of our audience are centrally positioned, just like me. So congratulations to you. That's a high percentage. 37% of us have a plain color background. The remaining portion have home backgrounds, which surprisingly is not distracting for me, at least. Very well done. One recommendation. One of you has a window open and one of you has a mirror that's reflecting light. Please consider avoiding that for the next session. 2 more recommendations. Having camera at eye level and not like this, which doesn't show my best profile, is a good practice. And what do we do with our hands when we're not speaking and we're watching? If you want to practice being online presenters, let us be aware of them. Special mention goes to Chris and Jim Gold, Roger Fung, and General Evaluator Ben for being not only centrally positioned, but smiling throughout the way. Over to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. And to our chat monitor, Roger, please.
From a chat monitor standpoint, we had a up and down. During the speeches, everybody basically shut down, very focused on their speeches, thumbs up, and then when it's over, boom, we've got a whole bunch of activities and we went right back down. The only other things I would say that leads into vote counting is that when we are due after each section, when the timer has already given the timing in terms of qualification, please do your voting right away so that the vote counter can keep track as to which part that they are counting. With that said, back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Awesome. And our timer, Mr. David Carr, any remarks?
I think we reported along the way. I apologize for getting distracted at some point and not starting the clock for Chris, but other than that, the sins were all on me.
Awesome. And for the grammarian's report, honorable mention, some of the words that were great. Expenditure analysis by Carol, the Pareto concept, spend analysis by Carol, Jim, masterfully presented, Graham, engagement with your audience, Jim, the name escaped me. Those were the honorable mentions for the grammarian report, and of course, thank you for those that used the word stumble. I think it was Graham. And at this time, I will turn the meeting back over to our president so he can give us the summary of the vote.
Vote counter.
I am the
Our acting
presiding
president.
officer as the VP of Education today, and also the vote counter. Therefore, first and foremost, our table topic, the best table topic speaker, almost came down to a tie. But one of the speaker broke the tie by giving a vote to the other person, and the winner is Jim Gall. Second part, the best evaluator is Jim Barber. And drum rolls to our best speaker for this evening, Ryan.
Hey!
Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
And that is it. At
All
this
right.
time, I would like to have any feedback from any of our guests on the meeting tonight.
All right, feedback from our guests. First and foremost, Harold, if you can unmute yourself, say hello. I didn't get a chance to introduce you when we first started the meeting. Introduce yourself very quickly and tell us what you thought about our meeting.
I thought the meeting was good. I was in Toastmasters in our area, which is the La Crosse, Wisconsin area. I've been in Toastmasters previously. So the picking up on the format that you used, the directions, that was all real familiar with what we had done up here. I was actually an officer up in our Toastmasters up here, and also some of the feedback given to each of the Toastmasters was really good, because ultimately most everybody gets into Toastmasters to continue to grow their styles of speaking and their comfort with being able to speak in front of an audience, especially remotely as we're doing here.
Right. Welcome, Harold. If any of our new visitors would like to stick around, I'll stick around for a few more minutes if you have questions and things like that. Let's jump over to Carrie. Carrie, would you unmute yourself and say hello and what you thought of your meeting?
Hi, everyone. I think I am unmuted. Can you hear me okay? Give a
Yes,
wave?
we can.
Okay. I'm curious if someone could talk me through quickly how to show my video so I can see myself. I see my video camera is on and my green light's on, but I don't see me anywhere on the screen. Is there a trick to that?
Try to toggle the upper right-hand corner with the speaker's view, gallery view back and forth, or maybe mute and unmute your video and see it will come right back.
Okay, perfect. I'll try that.
While you're trying that, Carlos, say hello and what you thought about the meeting.
Hello, how are you? I am very surprised of being here in this meeting. Everybody, I can hear everybody very clear. That your voices are very clear. The way you speak are very fluent, so I'm very intrigued and, thinking to join this club. I think I could learn I did see a lot of pro action in this meeting. So wonderful to be here. Thank you very much for letting me in.
Do you have Toastmasters experience, Carlos? Or
I belong to another online club, to Witty Birds.
Oh, okay.
And,
very cool.
Yeah.
I have a chance to hear Carlos from a few months back when he competed on a contest online also. With that said, do we have any, going back to Carrie, Carrie, can you see yourself now?
I see everyone else and I'm okay with not seeing myself.
Please,
I appreciate
introduce yourself real quick and tell us what you thought about the meeting.
Perfect. My name is Carrie. I'm from Kentucky. I was a member of Toastmasters in several states a long time ago. Love the online format. Love having a refresher on some of the format for the meetings. And I love just feeling connected to people from all around the world who have a similar vision of improving speaking. So thanks for letting me stumble in a little bit late. And I look forward to being a guest another time.
All right. Well, Carrie got some kudos point for stumbling right in there. Glenda, how do you feel about, this is your second time, I believe?
Yeah, I've been in Toastmasters over 20 years. And I need to finish something in my life. and this seems like something I want to finish. I enjoyed the meeting.
All right.
I really did.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Glenda. I forgot you said that last time that you'd started
Yeah.
down this road a few different times. So
Yeah.
there's a join page on our website. Come on in. The water's wet. For the sake of our visitors who came in a few minutes late, we should also mention that we have a special event on September 24th, which is our mini webinar contest. So this is a contest format that we invented for ourselves. It's not official, but it's a way of testing your online presentation skills, things that are specific to doing a webinar or online meeting. And that's going to be pretty cool.
Is that the 24th or the 17th?
24th.
It's the 24th. Yeah.
Our contest is the last Monday of this month. So go ahead and get online right now onto the our website, and you can sign up for roles and various different things.
All the positions are filled except for perhaps judges. If you're interested in judging, please contact directly David Carr in private.
All right, Carol is our contest master. David is our chief judge. So do so. Any other quick announcements before we officially close? And if anyone else wants to stick around for a few minutes, if you have questions, I'm going to be here for a few more minutes before we close. Any other official?
I would just like to ask Carlos to repeat. I maybe stumbled while he was talking. Did he say that he was a member of Early Birds in Fort Lauderdale?
No, I'm a member of Witty Birds, online club.
Witty Birds.
The Witty Bird is an online club.
Okay, because Early Birds is our club. We've been on the road for a few months and we haven't been there. And I was just going to tell him welcome.
I have only met online people.
Okay.
Anything else in terms of an official announcement?
Only that I'm going to be away for the next 4 weeks, so I'm really annoyed that I can't enter the competition. But have a good time, folks. And David, I'll contact you to see if I've paid my membership. I can't remember.
All right. We'll miss you, Graham. So our meeting is officially closed. Good night. Goodbye.